evening, Madras. Good morning, America. And hello, the rest of the world. Welcome, 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 welcome to Unmute. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Yega Kumarappan, co-founder and head of products at Paperflite. This is Unmute's opening session. Well, there's no much pressure, I guess. Now, let's face it, right? Marketing stories. They're always exciting, magical, very creative, and fabulous. The likes of Coca-Cola, McDonald's, or BMW have mastered the art of marketing stories. So no wonder they're so beautiful. But what does not get talked about at all is what happens in the backstage. The amount of real work and experiments that went behind the making of these successful campaigns, so glorious, so fabulous, remain untold. And that's exactly what we want to throw our focus lights on today. We wanted to unmute those stories. Hear all of it firsthand from some of the amazing people who've created a world of a difference for us marketers. And to start with, I have with me one of the biggest names in personal branding, field marketing, and ABM. When you say field marketing, people say Nick Bennett. Let's give a big warm welcome to Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Welcome, Nick. Nick is the director of field community and partner marketing at Alyce, a podcast host, a strategic advisor to multiple brands, and I can go on and on and on. Welcome, Nick. It's such a pleasure to have you with us here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I actually wanted to spend a minute on the topic in itself. Persona with a lot of A's and H's. Well, that's a shout out, right? Everybody knows what a persona is, but this very unique pairing of personal branding with ABM is never heard of. And yet, it feels so powerful and larger than life from a marketing perspective. And I just can't wait to talk through the entire story with you, Nick.
Yeah, so I'm excited as well.
Sorry, it's okay. So let's begin with personal branding. I want to start with something simple, something a lot powerful, and then we'll get into the story. Let's begin with personal branding, Nick. It is such a juicy topic. There are enough books, enough articles, and so much literature, but I guess it's not enough just yet. Now, this is very special because we have you live, and we are hearing from you firsthand. Nick, what is personal branding to you?
I think personal branding is the way that you want someone to perceive you. And I think there's such a misconception because you have personal branding and you have reputation. I think that they have an overlay into what they are, but I think reputation is what you're known for. Like, what do people think of you when you're not in a room? Personal branding is what you want people to think of you. What is your legacy? What do you want to be remembered for? And I think that's what you can set for yourself.
Awesome. Personal branding. To a lot of us, when I say a lot of us, I'm going to fold myself into the audience that we have here with us today. Personal branding to us is like a New Year's resolution. All of us have done this at some point in our life. We've all promised ourselves that we will do 5 blogs a month, we will do so many tweets, we will do so many podcast sessions, we will do so much of blog posts, whatnot. But it's very difficult. But I mean, being consistent. I mean, if I were to read some of the numbers that you have out there, 2019 you have 2.8 posts per week, and you think that was starting slow. And 2020 you have 7.6 posts per week. That's insane. In 2021 you have 6.3 posts per week, and you think that's your pace, that's a habit. I mean, 3 years. I mean, have you ever thought of giving up like any other normal human being?
Yeah, I have thought of giving up because it's just it wears on you over time. Because for me, I don't repurpose a lot of the same content that I put out there. I'm constantly creating, and it is nice when there's things that you can kind of put in of like speaking engagements that you're doing, a podcast, but like when you're creating actual content, I'm developing that every day, and very minimally I repurpose content. But I think the big key for me is that I don't spend more than 5 minutes when I'm crafting any type of content on the post itself. I would much rather invest the time and effort into engaging with the community that's commenting back and spending time out of their day to engage with you.
Has this been, have you seen a sign of improvement? Has this been the same, the amount of time that you take to create a post, to create something that you would have to broadcast? Is that something, has it always taken the same amount of time? Has it improved? How does that look like?
Yeah, it definitely has taken some time for me to like get that really down. But the way that I've always thought of it is, you know, if you're not going to just ship something, you're never going to do it. You're going to say, oh, you know, I'm going to overanalyze this. And then you overanalyze it so much that you don't actually end up doing it. And so I said, you know what? 5 minutes, send. Like, I don't care. There's grammatical errors half the time in my stuff. I miss pieces. I go back. Thankfully, there's an edit button. But like, there's people that I know that spend, you know, 30 to 45 minutes thinking of what to write. And I'm just like, I don't have the time in my day to even like do that. So like, I just got to get it out there first thing in the morning and just kind of go from there.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, the follow-on question would be how much of brand new content that you create versus how much of it is rebroadcasted? How do you have a split? Do you have a measuring unit? How does that work?
Yes, so I would honestly, right now, I would probably say 90% of what I put out there is brand new. 10% is probably repurposed, but with a new spin to it. And just it's you know, it's interesting because I'm usually in the shower first thing in the morning and I'll think of something. I don't write anything down. And so my goal is by the time I get out of the shower to get to my phone or my computer to actually like post what I was thinking of. Half the time I forget it, or it's like just like an overall thought, but like I just kind of like start typing as quick as possible. But I don't write any notes. I don't keep notes of like what I want to talk about anywhere. It's literally every single morning I just think of it before I start my day.
That's I guess it's super fresh, and no wonder. I mean, you get your best concepts and the best thoughts when you're in the shower, when you have a calm mind, when you're relaxing, and that's a subconscious mind that kicks in, and you get really fresh content out there. No wonder. Next question is going to be a little bit tricky for you, Nick. How do you split your time between personal branding and Alyce?
Yeah, it's a good question. Luckily, you know, working for a company that supports employees building their own brand is important, because I've also worked for companies in the past where, you know, if you're devoting time to social media during the work hours, they're against that. But they don't realize that that actually hurts the business in the long term. Because if you take, I was actually fun story. I was talking to someone this morning, and they have about 125 people within their company that post every single week. Out of those 125 people, this week alone, they drove over 200,000 impressions from their content. And then what will happen is you'll see who works, you know, you'll tie the company name to who that person is. And so it actually will like 100x what any company page will ever get if you do it right.
That's the multiplier effect that we will be talking about as well, I guess. But that's a very, very interesting perspective, especially for organizations to adopt it. So it's a mindset change from a traditional operation model into how do you show that focus into social platforms and personal branding and all of that. And it's pretty interesting.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Would it be fair if I call you a genius disciplined by sheer diligence?
No, I just know that consistency pays off. And it's, you know, it's like that's where most people fall off, is the consistency standpoint. It goes back to like that New Year's resolution piece. It's like, you know, you're strong for a month or two, and then it's like everyone leaves the gym because no one, you know, people are just you know, whatever. But that's the one thing that plays like so much. Like if you could stay consistent, I'm not saying you have to do it 5 days a week, but like 2 days a week, like at least devote time to giving back to yourself, because it's a long game. Everyone's out here, you know, the companies that we all work for, it's not like my mom, for example, she's worked at Raytheon for the last 40 something years, and it's been her only job ever. I've worked at like 8 companies and I'm 35. And so it's just not the same mindset. Like, we're not going to be at these jobs forever. And it's about taking that next level up to get to the long game that will help elevate your career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to slowly take a segue into ABM, account-based marketing. There's so much out there. There's quite a lot of expensive, flashy stuff, all in the name of driving engagement. What is ABM according to you, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's an overused term, and I hate saying that because like so many people are using it to hire new roles, but like really all it is targeted marketing to a subset of accounts. That's really all it is. And if you think about it, field marketers have actually been doing ABM for years because most likely they're aligned to regions or territories. They're working with specific sales teams and they're driving specific accounts towards pipeline and revenue. And it's like ABM marketers have been doing ABM for decades, but now it's become such like a hot buzzword that like everyone's like, well, we should be doing ABM. And they think, well, ABM is just inviting accounts to an event. That's not it. It has to be a company-wide strategy from the top down, eliminating silos, and you have to work together, not only on the list, but on the KPIs and metrics that actually matter.
So as much as it sounds, I guess ABM is also a pretty well-marketed word.
Yeah, absolutely. People love acronyms.
Yeah. Okay. So to the fun part now. I wanted to connect these two together. We talked about personal branding. We talked about ABM. We know how. We talked a little bit about how the multiplier effect comes into play. This is super powerful. I mean, it's that resonance. It's that multiplier effect. It's that human to human connection. It sounds very powerful, very effective. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know that we all have, outside lives within our typical jobs. Everyone knows that you're, a director of marketing or director of ABM, whatever. Like anyone could go search on LinkedIn and find out what someone's job is. But what is that person passionate about outside of work? And that's how you connect to someone on a human to human level. And at the end of the day, if you think about how you buy software or tech or anything like that, people now are more going to their peers and people that they trust. And they're saying, hey, what do you use for a gifting platform? What do you use for XYZ? And they're trusting those people in the relationships that were built there versus any other, you could have ads running out there. You could have, review websites. Yeah, it plays into it, but people are definitely going to go check with others and connect on like that human to human level.
That's true. That's true. So, I mean, especially from the use cases that we talked about briefly even before the session, I mean, it makes a lot of sense in terms of how the multiplier effect works, how big this can be when personal branding and ABM get together. Now, it's all until now. I mean, it's all so glorious. It's so beautiful. But how do we get there? I mean, how did you get there? I mean, it's time to like take the audience over to the backstage, to the untold story. I'm gonna ask the team to like throw some smoke, distort the screen, but get that spinning spiral wheel for a flashback, and we're gonna show you a younger Nick right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like ABM has kind of started through something.
I'm sorry, Nick. I really wanted this to happen. This was a tech piece that I did request the team to, but you see all the papers that flew through. I think the team is not okay with my demands. They're just not happy. Okay, so I'm sorry to cut you there, but I had a hailstorm coming over me. Okay, all yours. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I love it. It's it's all about the experiences that you create. It's for me, and I think it's a little bit easier because I'm in the MarTech industry, and so when you're marketing and selling to other marketers that are exactly like you, it's a little easier to kind of like tie the two together. And honestly, when I started out creating a personal brand for myself, I actually had no intention of tying it into an ABM strategy. I mean, I wasn't even at Alyce when I started to kind of like build this. And I didn't even know what personal branding really was. I mean, I went to school for sports management. I got out and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a big shot athletic director or a sports agent or something like that. And I went into sales. And I was really good at sales. And I ended up just kind of coming across marketing. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I get to experience all of the great things without a quota hanging over my head. And at the end of the day, I was just like, I'm going to start to build a brand for myself because I realized it was a long game. And the company that I was at the time, Clary, we had our VP of growth, Kyle Coleman, who's very well known on LinkedIn, put out a challenge to his team. And he was like, hey, this is what the success that I've had and the opportunities that it's opened. Why don't you guys start as well? And so there was a few of us that started, and I was the only one that kind of stayed consistent with it and kept it going. And when I got to Alyce, I realized this is interesting. People are connecting the content that I create every single day to the company that I work for, and they're coming to me inbound. And I'm connected to all of our target accounts. I'm connected to just a lot of field marketers, ABM, and just marketers in general. But like a lot of our target accounts were coming to me and they would say, hey, I see you posting content about this, or I see you posting content about this. We're up for renewal with a competitor of yours. We'd love to have a conversation. That organically happened. And I actually had no intention of doing that. And I was like, wow, there's actually something to this. And so I started to actually work with our internal team and start to get more people to do it. I said, if we can create a surround sound approach of creating content, we're going to drive inbound without ever having to pay $1 to advertising and other channels that you want to run. And, myself, in the last 7 months, I've probably driven 30 opportunities just from the personal branding aspect of target accounts for our sales team. And you'd be surprised at the doors that it actually opens for yourself. And like, people just end up associating your name, the company that you work for. So maybe they don't have a need right now, but as they consistently see you day over day, it's just like any content play that you put out there. They see the content over and over. Whenever they do have a need, they know who to go to. And I think that's the big piece that goes undervalued in a lot of this.
Absolutely. And I mean, the number of leads that you're talking about, I mean, we're hearing real world stories. We're talking about an actual experience of how personal branding makes a difference with ABM for an organization. I mean, it's wonderful. Thank you so much, Nick. I was just a little curious as to from sports management into marketing, field marketing. What's the story?
Yeah, I've played baseball ever since I was about 4 years old, and so I still play today competitively. And I went to college to play baseball. That was actually all I really cared about, to be honest with you. I was never a great student in high school. College, I got a little bit better, but high school was not good. And honestly, I was going to go to a school and pay all this money to basically just go and, like, who knows, probably get kicked out because of my grades, or booted off the baseball team. And so I went and I said, all right, I'm going to play baseball. I'm going to go for sport management because that was one thing that I had an interest in. I was like, if I can go to school for sports and just learn more about it, that's great. And so my parents thought I was crazy. They were like, why aren't you going for business, or why aren't you going for marketing or anything like that, or communications? Like, you're basically wasting 4 years. And I was just like, no, that's not true. And so I went through and I kind of got out, and then I was in a weird place where I could go work for the Red Sox in Boston making $10 an hour selling tickets. Yeah.
Did you just say Red Sox? Really?
Yeah, it was, but I mean, it was just basically like, selling tickets. It wasn't anything crazy. And I was like, all right, well, this isn't great.
But that's where it starts. I mean, any any sports career for that matter. I've seen some of my friends who would just travel along with the sportsmen, be with the teams. All that they would do is possibly analyze data, and then at some point you become a very core part of the team in itself, and that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, and so it was, and I was very tempted to do it, but I decided to go into sales, and I didn't do tech sales. I actually did sales for a industrial tooling company. And so basically I was really good at it. I was doing inside sales, and it was boring. It was a grind. I worked, 7 a.m. every morning till 5 p.m. and I was just on the phones all day.
And you wouldn't have to do personal branding or ABM.
Exactly. And then I just kind of came across first the channel and field marketing side of it. And that's when I was like, wow, this is interesting. I get to do all this fun stuff, but I still get to work with sales. And so then it just kind of progressed. And like I said, when I was doing field marketing, I was doing ABM. You were literally working on target accounts, both from a net new opening pipeline perspective, but also accelerating. It was just on a smaller scale than a global or national level. And I've just kind of been doing that for the last 9 years. I've worked mostly for Series B to Series D companies. I've gone through 3 acquisitions. And, I've been on a few rocket ships that have really taken off. And personally, for me, I could never go work for a large company anymore. For me, I'm much more on that high risk, high reward type of environment. Plus, I feel like that my contribution is much more than just another number, part of a larger organization.
Makes absolute sense. I mean, once you get that adrenaline rush, I mean, it's very difficult to stop that. You're going to go for it. Nick, thank you so much. I just wanted to ask if there was a takeaway for the audience that we have here. A lot of us would possibly want to begin our journey on personal branding, or ABM is. I mean, if you're a marketer, I mean, ABM is something that you would be doing in some form or the other. But from a personal branding standpoint, a lot of us would possibly want to start a journey. And is there something that you would want to tell us?
Yeah, so I think before you even start creating your own content, what you should do, and you can do this today, is go find 5 to 10 people that are posting content on LinkedIn on a regular basis, and people that I don't want to say idolize, but people that you want to learn from, people that you think you can get value from, and go find out when they post their content, because most content creators will post at the same time pretty much every single day, or at least a short window. And if you can comment, exactly. And if you can comment under their posts every single day and be one of the first people and add something of value, add insights into what they're talking about that specific day, you'd be amazed at how many people that you're going to drive back to your own LinkedIn page. Even if you don't create content, you're going to start to build an audience for yourself. And then 6 months down the road, if you decide to start doing content, you'll start to already have a self-established audience that you can then use and start to build on from there. But comment under their posts first and do that for a while. Don't do it just for a week. And you have to do it consistently a couple times a week. And you have to do it early so that as more and more people comment, they'll always see yours. And again, that just drives more people back to your own page.
Awesome. We're going to try that for sure. And for everybody who's been a part of this session, a small little takeaway. If you guys are going to start on your personal branding journey, and if you're going to make your first comment, please tag Nick Bennett, and he's going to like and broadcast your post. I'm sorry, Nick. I was just kidding, but I think I think you would still support and encourage anybody who would want to start their branding journey. Thank you so much. Yeah. It was a. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say absolutely. People just have to start somewhere.
Perfect. And thank you so much. It was such a pleasure hosting you with us. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm going to just quickly check if I have any questions from the audience. Perfect. I have one interesting question. I want to move from being a fly on the wall to the wall of fame. Wow. Okay. Now, it's a little bit of poetry there, but starter tips.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it goes back to just kind of engage with 5 to 10 people every single day. And people that like, you know, take like the Kyle Coleman's of the world, the Justin Welsh's. If you're in sales, follow the sales leaders. If you're in marketing, follow the marketers that put content out there that you think you can get value from, because that's the quickest way that you can start. If you're going to go and just post content today yourself, it took me 6 months before I saw any traction, literally crickets every single day, nothing, until that 6 month kind of popped. And then weirdly, it just started to like slowly grow. But if you want to kind of like, I guess, growth hack that, go comment on other people's now and start to build your audience.
Yeah, because this sounded more like a skyrocketing question of being a fly on the wall to the wall of fame. Okay. Now, one more question. What prompted you to keep pushing? Was there a day that you said to yourself, nah, not today?
Yeah, there was a lot of times that I said, you know, I'm just going to give up and like, it's just not worth it for me. But like once I realized that I was starting to get invited to podcasts and invited or having access to VPs of marketing and CMOs that I would never have had access to before, I could just send a message like, hey, can I pick your brain for 20 minutes? I'd love to learn more. And they would just answer me and be like, hey, I saw your content. Absolutely. That was at the point where I was like, this is going to open more doors. And it's a long game that you have to invest in yourself in, because no employer is going to invest for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome, amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. It was really a pleasure having you. It was such an honor having you here with us. And this was our opening session with Unmute. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. If you have any follow-on questions, please feel free to write to the team. We'll be happy to circle this with Nick and get back to you.